A very good morning, dear class 7, and welcome in our social science class. This is Shashi, your social science teacher. How are you, children? I hope you are doing very well. Today, we will be learning block 5, and that is Delhi Sultanate 1. And in that, we will be talking about policies of Alauddin Khilji. So be sure that you have all the essentials, your workbook, notebook, content book, along with the stationery. So, first, we will quickly recap our previous section. As in the previous section, we talked about establishment of the Delhi Sultanate, and in that we talked about Mamluk dynasty and its meaning. As Mamluk means slave, these slaves were mostly Turks. There were specialized slaves known as the Bandagini Khas. Then we talked about the Mamluk dynasty, about Qutbuddin Aibak, who was the founder of first dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate. Then we learned about Iltutmish, who was the successor of Qutbuddin Aibak, and he managed to avoid a Mongol invasion by refusing to provide refuge to the Shah of Iran. He made the first push towards turning the Delhi Sultanate into an empire. He defeated the Rajput rulers of Ujjain, Ranthambore, Malwa, Ajmer, and Gwalior. Then we talked about Razia Sultan, who was the who was an able, intelligent, and qualified ruler. She was the daughter of Iltutmish. But because of the nobles who were against the idea of a woman as a queen, she revolted. The provincial rulers rose in revolt against Razia Sultan. She battled them bravely but was ultimately defeated. Then we talked about Ghiyasuddin Balban, who established a strong centralized army that was directly under the control of the Sultan. New officers were appointed and they were rewarded with fertile iktas. So Balban introduced the new system, ikta system. Now, children, after Balban's death, Jalaluddin Khilji's rise to power marked the beginning of the Khilji dynasty. He was benevolent towards the nobles, and so his rule was short lived. So, first, we will talk about Jalaluddin Khilji, who took over the throne of Delhi in 1290 CE and founded the Khilji dynasty. In spite of the threat of rebellion from the nobles, he did not exclude any tribe from participating in the government. That's why his rule was short lived. So, I have one question about this. Why do you think that Alauddin Khilji took over from Jalaluddin? Do you have any answer? As already we discussed about this. Jalaluddin allowed the nobles to participate in the government and did not try to suppress them. So there were internal rebellions. That's why Alauddin Khilji took over Jalaluddin Khilji. Got it? Now, children, our aim of today's learning is to be able to describe the expansionist and administrative measures of Alauddin Khilji. So, again, I am reminding you, sit with all the essentials with stationery, content book, notebook, and workbook. Keywords of today's lesson are, first word is fortifications, means walls, towers, etc., built specially in the past to protect a place against attack. Then the next word is private armies. A private army is a military or paramilitary force consisting of armed combatants who owe their allegiance to a private person. Allegiance, it means uncountable support to a private person, group, or organization rather than a nation or state. Then the next word is alliance, an agreement between groups, countries, etc., to work together and support each other, or a bond or connection between parties. Got it? So now children, today we will learn about the administrative and expansionist policies of Alauddin Khilji. So children, what you have to do? You have to First I will introduce you with these two pictures. As first picture is of Alauddin Khilji and the second one is of Malik Kafur, who was the minister of Alauddin Khilji. So now, children, you have bonus question of the day, and it is Alauddin Khilji took extremely harsh measures against the dash dash dash. So you have to read the section and be ready for this. So what you have to do in that, you have to fill or choose the correct word to fill this dash. Now children, read the dialogue. Dialogues are in the next slide. So read the dialogue between Emperor Alauddin Khilji and his minister Malik Kafur. Then underline all the actions that you consider were important for the expansion and administration of the empire. So here are the dialogues. Pause the video and read the dialogues between Malik Kafur and Alauddin Khilji. Malik Kafur informed Alauddin Khilji that you must be very pleased, Sultan. Our military campaigns in Gujarat, Chittor, Mewar, Mandu, Ujjain and Malwa have been very successful. Alauddin Khilji was very pleased and said, "Indeed, the army has done well. The empire has never been so large. All of northern subcontinent now lies under our control." Malik Kafur was confused and asked, "I still do not understand why you chose not to directly rule over the Deccan." Alauddin Khilji replied, "It will be difficult to govern and control the region from Delhi. Besides, my primary purpose was to extract tributes from the Deccan rulers in order to strengthen the Sultanate. The Deccan rulers have agreed to accept my overlordship and will pay rich tributes." Then again Malik Kafur asked, "What about the threat we face from the Mongol Sultan?" Alauddin Khilji replied, "I have ordered our fortifications to be strengthened, and I have placed the outlying provinces which lie along the path of Mongol movement under our best generals. I want you to discuss the reorganization of our army with the war minister. We need to brand our horses and have a proper descriptive role of our soldiers. This will give us a better idea about our military resources." Malik Kafur said, "Might I also suggest that we place spies in our armies who will report directly to you? It might forewarn us of rebellion." Alauddin Khilji agreed with this. He said, "That's a good suggestion. I also don't want the nobles to keep private armies. It makes them far too strong." Malik Kafur replied, "With these measures in place, we should be able to safeguard the Sultanate." So children, these were the dialogues between Alauddin Khilji and his minister. So read these dialogues. Underline all the actions that you consider were important for the expansion and administration of the empire. Now pause the video, read the section Policies of Alauddin Khilji Then be ready for the question. Okay, now let's discuss the activity. Why did Alauddin Khilji not want to rule the Deccan states directly? Alauddin Khilji did not want to rule over the Deccan directly because he knew that it would be difficult to administer them from Delhi. How did Alauddin recognize the army? How did Alauddin plan to repel the threat of Mongol invasion? Alauddin strengthened fortifications and deployed his best generals to the frontier to curb Mongol threat. Now, why did Alauddin recognize the army? Alauddin Khilji recognized the army in order to safeguard the empire against the Mongol threat and internal rebellions of the nobles. Why were nobles prevented from keeping private armies? And one more question, why did he employ spies in his armies? Nobles were prevented from keeping private armies so that they could not launch an attack against the emperor. He set up a spy system to keep himself informed about all aspects of the lives of nobles and the prices of products in the market. Now, children, so now generalize our discussion. Let's start. What are the actions that you identified as important for the expansion and administration of the empire? So, children, think about this and give your response. The administrative policies undertaken by Alauddin Khilji included repairing forts and posting efficient generals to repel Mongol invasion, gathering informations about military resources, placing spies in the army, preventing nobles from keeping private armies. The expansionist policy of Alauddin Khilji included military campaigns across North India. He won wars against the Deccan rulers and yet chose not to rule over them directly. Okay, now let's try some higher order thinking. Do you think Balwan would have approved of the measures taken by Alauddin Khilji to safeguard the Sultanate? Give reasons for your answer. Okay, so you have to give reasons also for your answer. Balwan would have approved of the measures undertaken by Alauddin Khilji. Both rulers, Balban and Alauddin Khilji, believed in having a strong centralized administration, spy system, fortifications, and intolerance of rebellious nobility. Balban would also have appreciated Alauddin's decision to create a standing army. Now, children, my recommendation is read the section Policies of Alauddin Khilji from the Seat Content book to summarize the day's learning. Okay, now time for some application. So let's find a workbook and complete worksheet. Finish S3 in the workbook and in the notebook answer practice question 7, 8 and 9 from the Seat Content book. Okay, children. Stay home, stay safe. Have a nice day. Bye-bye and thank you.